1972.
We'll call the Troy-Miami County Planning Commission for June 24th, 2026 to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. McGarry.
Here.
Mrs. Ehrlich. Mayor. Mr. Emery.
Here.
Mr. Westmeyer.
Here.
Mr. Titterington.
Here.
Mr. Wolke.
Here.
There's a quorum.
Okay. The minutes from the work session were sent out for our perusal. Are there any additions, deletions, corrections, or additions?
This would be the minutes of June 10 and June 18, both.
Okay, both the work session and the...
I'll make a motion to approve. I'll second that.
A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, they're approved. Okay, the only order of business we have today is a review of the UDC code. So we'll treat this kind of as a work session from this point on. What I'd like to do is listen, have you guys go ahead and go over the memo that you prepared, and then have discussion among the commission that will open up for comments and questions from the audience.
Okay. As you guys know, last Thursday was our first meeting regarding the UDC. So what our intent is to go through this memo to clarify some items that are outstanding, and then we will get to you next week a red line version of the changes that are proposed. So the version you have is kind of the base version, and everything that comes from that point on will be red line, so you'll know the changes that were made. So you'll be getting that sometime next week. So just so you guys are aware, I met with our law director on Monday, and we went through these items here that I laid out that I wanted to walk through just for a discussion. Some of these are just wordsmithing. Some of them will take some discussion and direction from the Planning Commission. But I wanted to go through them step by step so we were all on the same page as we were making these changes. So the first bullet point talks about principal buildings. It's actually on page 16. And I also put these in numerical order, so that way you wouldn't be going back and forth in the code. It should be in order. So
Tim, excuse me, do I have a copy of that?
you certainly do. It's on Patrick's left side in front of Sandy Ehrlich's spot.
Right.
Somehow it got shuffled down.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you.
But on the screen, so we're putting them on the screen. It's, oh, you lost me there.
Zoom in.
It's under principal buildings. One of the options we talked about was agricultural buildings. So under principal buildings in the current code and in the proposed UDC, we allow one principal building per lot. Otherwise, you're doing a planned development approach, which has been consistent with what we've done since I've been here. What we're proposing is to do is add a number 3 underneath the principal buildings, and that would add language to ensure that agricultural buildings that are in agricultural districts that are associated with the agricultural use are considered principal structures and not accessories. So barns, silos, all those items, you're not capped on what you can do, which is pretty consistent with everything that we see coming through the state for agricultural uses. The reason we're putting that terminology in there is if somebody does a wedding venue or things that are not agricultural use portions would have to follow the normal standards like everybody else. So that's the first item that we are proposing to change.
So let me, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So with agricultural properties, let's say we had a farm that wanted to go in and they had to submit a development plan. You're saying that if they've got their residential structure and they've got a barn, and maybe they have another barn, I don't know how many barns you need for different things, all of those would be considered principal structures
That's correct.
on one lot.
That's correct.
So under our code then, they would automatically have to come in as a PD because they have multiple principal structures on the agricultural
Well,
zone.
they would not, because they wouldn't have to follow that PD, because under principal buildings, the agricultural the agricultural zone property could have more than one principal structure
Okay,
without.
that's
Yes.
what I missed.
Yep.
That's part of.
Okay.
And is that part of the update?
That will be, yes, we're proposing that, and if you guys are agreeable to it, we'll make that change in the red line and move on. Okay.
It's farm friendly.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm okay. No issues.
Okay. The second one is the Gateway Overlay District. This was, I think, brought up by Mr. Wolke when we talked about the boundaries in the area. It's on page 32. We essentially, to clarify the boundary area, we eliminated the term and intersecting street, so it only affects properties that are on those main thoroughfares that have frontage on those properties. So nothing with intersecting streets, it's just clarifying language like it was intended to be. So I'll just keep going unless you guys want to chime in with questions.
No issues.
Okay. Wireless communication facilities, we are still waiting on the structure point. They are looking to make sure we comply with federal law. We expect to receive that probably beginning of next week, so that'll be included. Their versions, I'll run that past Mr. Kerber, and then if he's good with it, we'll put that in the red line version. So that'll be forthcoming. One topic for discussion will be wind energy systems. It's on page 73.
Stepping back a minute there, Tim.
Mm-hmm.
What are the wireless communication facilities we're talking about primarily? Is that just cell towers?
Cell towers.
Yep, essentially cell
Would
towers.
there be anything else that would be considered besides cell towers? I'm just trying to get visual.
No, because the other ones are considered alternative energy systems.
Mhm.
So we have wireless, and then we have alternative energy systems, which then gets into your wind and your solar panels.
Right, okay.
And this would be on private property, and there's other regulations for those on, in public right-of-way.
But you're calling them wireless systems or wireless infrastructure because they're cell towers now. Who knows what they'll be in the future, right?
Yeah, no, that's right. I didn't know whether we're talking about the buildings,
Okay.
if they put a building downtown, is that considered part of it?
And the issue with that is being looked into is the Federal Telecommunications Act has
Yep.
some requirements that how quickly that a local government unit can do things or not do things. And we
Right.
need to make sure ours mesh with the federal law. And we're just making sure that there's compliance. I don't think there's going to be any, it really has to do with some time frames. So that's the issue that's being looked at.
Okay, I'm good.
The wind energy system, right now, we have it proposed that it is not accessory in any district in our code. And so we wanted to bring this up and discuss whether Planning Commission wishes to allow any wind facilities in certain districts. So these could be things such as windmills, anything of that nature.
We think a logical place to put it would be in the agricultural residential district, which would be the first column right here. So if Planning Commission's good with that, we could make that change. And it would literally be just...
there'd be standards with that, like addition?
We can look at standards. You can do dimensions from residential properties, you could do number, there's a lot of different ways we can go.
Well, I would think that you'd want some setbacks and you'd want to make sure that if they toppled, they wouldn't be.
And
going
they'll have to be done by
neighbor-
structural engineer, all the appropriate things.
Yeah.
Is it necessary that, I mean, is there some legal basis that we have to include them in our zoning?
I don't believe so.
Like if we just said,
Only upon our desire.
yeah, I thought I was saying, if we just said no wind energy system, and then just address them if they come. I mean,
Right.
And we could prohibit them
That would be
too.
the cleanest.
That'd be my inclination, and if there's some situation that comes up in the future, we could evaluate it then.
Okay.
I kind of
We will leave it
I
as is.
agree with that.
that way we don't have to tie ourselves into a,
I mean, my God, we could spend weeks trying to define it and never see it.
We will leave it prohibited.
On page 75, beekeeping, this was a recent inclusion in our zoning code, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago. We're proposing a small change. It would be section 1104 EG6J. If you scroll down, Austin, it's just right off the page, sorry. It should be the The last one there, yeah, so that's J. We would be adding, the term "as determined by the Development Code Administrator" to that. So it would read, "The city reserves the right to revoke beekeeping privileges when conditions exist in the immediate danger to the residents living on or directly adjacent to a property with said bees, as determined by the DCA." So we wanted to put that in there, just add that language.
That's J.
Yes.
So just for the record, the DCA would technically be me, and I do not keep bees and have no clue.
Or your designated,
Or your-
which would then
I
be
would
Or your
definitely be
designee, yeah.
designating that to
Mhm.
a certified,
Yeah, you weren't here
whatchamacallit.
last week, but we did clarify the DCA last week, yeah.
okay.
Also, if you scroll to page 80, it would be solar energy systems, accessory. This is just removing the first sentence, where it says, roof-mounted, SES maximum height overall. Oh, wait, hold on. Make sure I got that.
issues with the conforming, right?
Yeah, it says, removing a system that says a roof-mounted solar energy system shall be placed only on the roof of a conforming structure. We're proposing to eliminate that, simply because if you have a building that's already there, it's probably non-conforming. It doesn't need to be conforming or non-conforming. You should be able to put solar energy systems on there if you want to use it. So that was just something we caught in the code.
But that would, those panels, those systems would still have to meet all the other provisions of the
Oh,
solar.
they certainly have to follow all the other requirements, yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Page 96, it deals with a nursery parking. So right now, the proposed UDC states that one space per 650 gross square feet is required, and then if there's no building, it says then one space per employee on the largest shift. I've been talking with that. We wanted to clarify that language to require it be one space per 500 square feet of retail space, which would make that consistent with our retail use. And then in the case if there is no retail space, so if it's like a greenhouse with no retail side, it's a commercial greenhouse, then we would require 10 parking spaces. It's just clarifying that language to make it consistent with our other retail standards.
No issues?
Page 104 deals with cross-access. This section of the draft UDC, it allows when two or more adjoining commercial properties have cross-access. We wanted to add language to cite the reason that we would make that determination or allow that would be due to traffic safety and traffic flow as criteria. So there's criteria when making the justification of why they're needed.
That'd be where you've got the driveway cuts, like similar to 25A, where you got the driveway cuts on right on the property line, they split it each way.
That's correct, yep. We use those a lot on the main thoroughfares to
Right.
eliminate a lot of conflict points.
Right.
Page 118 on fences. It has always been our intent to not allow chain link fences in the front yard, and we felt that this version, the way it was worded, doesn't really drive that home. So we wanted to add a sentence in there that clarifies that property owners cannot install a chain link fence within any front yard setback, and that's consistent with our current language. We're just clarifying that with the language change.
Okay, let me see this.
So what you're saying is in the current code, we prohibit that.
Correct.
We just that didn't get transferred clearly.
It's not as clear as we would like it to be.
Yeah, we don't want to take a step back on that one.
No.
I don't anyway.
There's a particular spot, not in the city, but if we've got similar lots, we got lots now where the houses are facing interior street. I think in McKeg, I believe there's the couple developments where the backyards actually butt up to maybe McKeg Avenue, but they're served off of a cul-de-sac or a street.
On the township?
No, this would be, well, we have,
Yeah, both.
we're not talking about a house with a fence, but if you have you have to talk about a house that, I'm trying to, it's across from Dorothy Lane, I think it's a PUD. The houses are interior, sitting off of a cul-de-sac, but the backyard faces McKeag Avenue.
I mean, we have that with some of our subdivisions. I wanna say there's some on North Market.
Yeah, are you
Yeah.
talking, yeah.
Anyway, and those are fine, but how does the fence address? Because when there's out on Peters Road, there's this house has been there forever. It has a fence in the backyard, but it's right up, it butts up to Peters Road.
Yeah, so are you talking about like double frontage lots where your front
Yeah.
yard and backyard abut a
Yeah.
road? They essentially couldn't have a chain link fence in those areas. We would usually go to a wood fence or privacy fence.
Okay, so they could not go the chain link fence. So
Correct.
It's specified in the.
Mhm.
Yeah, but they could still have a fence.
Yes.
As long as there's no access to the heavily traveled roadway
Yeah, yep.
through lot.
Yeah, okay.
The next sections, I think the next three deal with the sign code. Just to verify those, if you go to page 121. We have language that's being reviewed right now regarding sign colors and copyright laws. We just want to verify that with American Structure Point, but we'll propose any language changes will be in that draft.
Copyright laws in what regard?
So in regards to, say, franchise corporate colors,
Yeah, there's a line of federal cases out there that, basically, owners of copyrights, so like there were some communities that said you could have no more than 2 or 3 colors, for instance, on a sign. They would regulate it in that way, and then the corporation would say, well, hey, our logo has 5 colors, and you're saying we can't put our logos up there. So there's been a line of cases challenging that. So essentially, we kick this back to American Structure Point and say, hey, look, have you looked at these provisions on the sign code to make sure it's compliant with those line of cases? So
what is their draft does their draft language have?
well, I know there's some
restriction?
things in there about neon, but that we've always
Neon
had that.
and day glow hues.
Yeah. Mhm.
And
But-
that language.
Okay,
gets-
okay.
yeah, most likely we'll remove that
I was
language when
gonna
they
say, we
review it,
allow
but
LED signs now, and there's
Right, but
a
to the
billion colors.
we just didn't want to make sure there was no conflict there.
I thought maybe we were gonna enforce copyright law, and I didn't know that our zoning code wanted to do that. Okay. Thank you.
the next sign code change would be on page 147. It's actually just fixing a table. We actually have, with temporary signs, so banners, we allow them for 28 days in a calendar year, and you can split those into 4 7-day periods. We had on one of the charts, it said 30 days instead of the 28, so it's just changing that to make it consistent with what we currently have. Pretty minor change there. And then on page 148 in the sign code, that deals with temporary yard signs. We currently have, we allow them in residential districts. The one district we didn't put it in was the UC district, which is basically the downtown area, which would be the B3 currently. We do have some residential properties in that, so we wanted to alter that table. So in the UC district, it meets the same as everybody else with two temporary yard signs per residential lot that can exceed 6 square feet. So it's just making it consistent, making sure we include those who are in the urban core that have a residential parcel. The next section of the changes is on page 204. It deals with completeness review of applications. This section is a new section. It highlights the process for which the Development Code Administrator can determine whether an application is complete or not. We kind of do this, but we don't have it in our code currently, so we can have some discussion on this. But essentially, when an application would come in, the determination of the completeness is made by the UDC. Our code would require us to provide them with a written notice, basically spelling out those specific deficiencies to their application. And then it talks about, upon the delivery of that, if within 90 days of the written notice, the applicant's original filing basically shall be forfeited and the incomplete application could be deemed incomplete and withdrawn. We don't have anything now that says if we come back and say, here are some deficiencies with it, we don't have a set time that they have to come back to make those changes. We just leave it open until we hear nothing or we eventually contact them down the road and withdraw it. But this would be a new section to our code that we currently don't have now.
And
So I
you're
wanted
saying
to-
that timeline would be 90 days,
90
3
days.
months?
Mhm.
So that would essentially provide clarification to the gas station convenience store thing we talked about in 25A?
It would, yeah, it would receive something from us that says it's either not complete because of these reasons, and if they didn't come back in a standard time, then yes, they would be, deemed
They'd be notified,
incomplete and
hey,
withdrawn.
yeah, at this point.
Well, they would still have to apply with an application, but
Yeah, application pay, yeah.
What if in the city's response, you overlooked something? Does that mean that you're stuck with that interpretation?
If, yes,
No, I mean,
we could
no,
go until a permit is issued.
No, I mean, there still has to be a determination of whether the permit's gonna be issued, or if it goes in front of the planning commission, they'd still have to satisfy the criteria
This is just a.
beyond that.
Just a
Let me
completion
maybe
of,
ask it a different way. So let's say you have 10 deficiencies that you give them as a list. That starts the clock for the 90 days for them to give something back to you. But let's say 30 days in, you find that you discover, or you relook at it and you find an 11th deficiency. They're going to get another 30 days to cure that, at least that 11th, if not all of it.
that's correct. The real point here is like, we get a lot of site plans that are drawn, a lot of times you can't read them, or we don't understand them. It's kind of like the run-a-bar napkin, to be honest, sometimes. What this does is it gives us that allowance to hold the site plans to a higher standard before we even process the application. So that's really the intent behind this.
Okay, moving on. Page 205, it's essentially the same section. This highlights the process by which the DCA proceeds with various applications. Can you pull that up?
It's page 205.
Yeah.
Various applications under staff review. This is the process.
Yeah, so we just outlined the process because it is a new section from our current code, so.
The first point was like, we wanted to chat about whether you guys were okay if we determined if it was complete or not. And then if you weren't okay with that, then we would have to make some tweaks to this section. So that's why we highlighted it. And it would basically be, we would have to delete these 3 words right here if you weren't okay with the completeness determination.
Sounds like we're okay with that part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's what we're doing now, right?
But Grant, the section on staff review, on page 205, you've reviewed that, and you're okay with that?
It's here if you want.
Yeah, I'm looking up here.
I mean, we're not tightening up any standards or
I-
making it shorter or
I mean, that's pretty much adopting what is
what
being
we
done
already
at the.
have?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
And then, page 206, inactive applications.
Starts on 205 and heads to 206.
Do you want to go through the inactive application?
Yeah, so this is when we have a pending application that just goes dormant. And we have ran into this quite a bit of times where we've provided comments and the applicant just goes dark, to be honest. So what this does is it sets some thresholds for us to deny it just because they've gone inactive. And that time frame is 45 days after we give them comments. And then an additional 30 days after that, we void the application.
Okay, but how's that different from, earlier you said, well, we were going to provide them comments, give them 90 days to respond. How is that different than this, where you're now saying it's 55 days, not 90 days?
Process to approved application becomes inactive after 45 days from receiving review comments. Fails to completely address the city's comments in further processing. Determines an application is actually pursuing action. Makes such determination will become inactive after 90 days. So they have initial 45 days to basically respond and acknowledge they received our comments, and then after that, it's 90 days after the date of the receipt of the comments if they fail to completely address them.
Okay, so the 90 days is consistent.
Yes.
So why do we have two different sections? Why have the one section that we talked about earlier in 204 or 205, whichever page that was on, and now it's basically repeating ourselves?
The first one was just the completion.
The first one is determining if it's complete.
Mhm.
The second one's if it's inactive.
Yeah.
Say that?
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially, so the first portion was to determine the completeness of the application. The second one here, then, I guess the way I'm reading this, if it's inactive for the 90 days, and the applicant fails completely to address the comments, then we deny it based upon that. It's kind of saying the same thing, though. I fail to see the
Right.
difference there also.
I'm not seeing any kind of distinction.
Well, we will,
Incomplete
we
equals
can,
inactive equals it's void.
yeah, we can look to clean it up and then maybe remove any
Yeah.
duplicates that's in that section.
I mean, the doggone thing's 400 pages already. Do we have
I
to?
mean, I like the idea though, the 45 days, if you don't hear back from them,
Yeah.
or they don't address anything that, you know, that it's.
Really, the
Well, we can
intent
fold
is
that part
at least
into-
acknowledge you
Yeah,
received our
exactly.
comments and are
Yeah,
working.
yeah, I get it, you gotta
Yeah.
acknowledge
Acknowledge
we're out in the
it.
process.
I mean,
Okay.
We'll do our best to reduce a paragraph out of this code for you guys.
page 206. Got it.
Page
That's why
220.
we're reviewing it.
Yep, page 227, this is the plan unit developments. Austin, do you want to cover this? Because you do those more than I do.
Yeah, certainly. We wanted to highlight the main key changes between the existing zoning code and the current draft UDC. Let me get there on the screen. This is like 30-some pages of plan development, so I won't be able to show you all the exact changes, but the highlights are, for final development plans and record plans, we merge those two steps into one. And our logic with that is, most of the time we review them on the same agenda anyways, and we wanted an opportunity to streamline the plan development process. So we took 3 steps and then went down into 2. So that's bullet point number 1 in the memo. Number 2, establishes better standards for amendments to the plan development. What this does is, we really only had in the existing code was to delineate between a major versus minor amendment is when you're adding acreage to the development. This adds some additional standards to that. For minor amendments, we also added a catch-all for like very, very small things. For example, Troy Christian wants to put up a ticket booth type of project. We allowed some administrative flexibility in the plan developments, and that's to streamline the process. So those are the main highlights for the plan developments.
So go back to there's 3 steps now for PD.
Yep.
Those being what?
General plan, final development plan, and record plan.
Okay, and which part of that has to go to council? The record plan, correct?
No, step 1 and step 3 has to go to council.
General plan and record plan.
Okay, so if the council, but the planning commission is going to do what then? They're going to, if you're going to combine steps 2 and 3,
Yeah.
they're just going to recommend all of that and take it all forward to council. And so legislation at the council level, we'll have to refer to all of it, or the 2 and 3 instead of 3, is basically, is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, yes, but what this also does is it ensures that the entire negotiated package of the final development plan gets in recordable format, and then is a part of the legislation. Sometimes we have just the cover pages as exhibits to the legislation. This makes it clear that this is an entire project, and all of these restrictions that were negotiated are all part of that package project. And this is, keep in mind too that this is also a rezone, so it's a map amendment.
Now, this also would have the effect of shortening the accumulation of the times between reviews, right?
Correct.
Basically taking it out for two cycles rather than the 3 we've got now.
We still have to do our public hearing with the map amendment,
Right.
but yes, that would streamline.
At the council level.
At the council, correct.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to page 229, and this is just a typo. We refer to the planning commission as the planning board, so we're just fixing that. Page 246, demolition by neglect. We wanted to make a verbiage change there. It's adding the word severe prior to the word permanent. I guess I'll wait for Austin to get there, sorry.
Trying, a lot of pages. 246, demolition by neglect.
Yeah, so it's just inserting it into that word into the language.
And what's the objective measure of severe versus non-severe?
Can you help Grant? You wanna-
Sure. Well, because I thought we were putting it right after Tim.
You said severe prior to the word permanent.
Permanent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because, which section are we in? 1?
It is K1B.
B, okay.
Mm-hmm. Result in permanent damage, injury, loss to foundations, etc.
Yeah, I guess the concern was, well, how to quantify severe means, I mean, you could have a deterioration of chimneys, doors, or windows that has permanent damage. We wanted to quantify what the level of that damage was to a certain extent. And, you know, just being a homeowner or anything like that, you can see that there's certain things that create permanent damage, but it is not something that would justify a finding of something that's demolition by neglect. Things naturally weather and it causes damage to things, but you wanted to just quantify what level of damage could trigger enforcement action.
Well, I guess that's my question. Quantifying it, so, you know, the staff is going to have to determine that. I mean, what measures do they use to decide, and let me extend it beyond just the staff. Let's say the staff sends something, says, hey, you're violating the code, you've got this severe permanent damage, and somebody challenges severe, it ends up in court, you have to...
Well, I mean, the
defend
first, what courts always say in those situations is, you know, for words, you use their normal, everyday meaning. So if it's severe, I mean, we could certainly add a definition, if you wanted to be more pinpoint on to have more input on what severe is for the purposes of the UDC. Otherwise, a reviewing court would look at this and say, okay, severe, what does severe mean? Let's open up Webster's, and this is the definition of Webster's. I'm not saying that has to be how you quantify it, but I would suggest that the level of damage be quantified in some manner.
Would you want to do a damage threshold like greater than 50% of the structure's market value? is something.
Well, and, I mean, but this applies to, I mean, say you have a deterioration of a door or a window, well, even the total window being shot, and it still might not hit that 50%, but you still might want to act upon it.
It's like severe in regards to the health of someone being in that house or outside the house?
No, that doesn't really, I think it relates more to the damage rather than the,
An issue with the-
potential health issue.
Well, I mean, if we were gonna set a percentage though, instead of the percentage of the market value of the structure, be the market value of whatever you're determining as severely permanently damaged.
The item itself.
Yeah. We would probably require, bring in like a structural engineer to help us determine that.
We could either work on the definition of severe if we want to work on that, if that's, I mean, that's
I'm
fine,
just
otherwise.
concerned we could be chasing our tail at the staff level. Okay, we think it's severe, they don't think it's severe, then what happens? Does it go to the BZA? Then, you know, you
Yeah,
get
it
into
could.
court,
Mhm.
then, you know, you have to defend us with our interpretation, which is subjective.
I wouldn't mind you looking at that a little bit more, maybe figuring out if it's mutually beneficial.
Will do.
I mean, the most current case we just had with the, building on, was it Cherry Street?
Yeah.
That, you know, when you look at the building, you know, it's, it depends upon whose eyes you're looking through. You know, a lot of people look at that building and say, well, that can be fixed. Well, how do we quantify, you know, what level are we gonna enforce it? You know, that's.
And what's severe?
Yeah, I have trouble with that too, and I don't think I've had that in my whole life. So when you look at if anything can be fixed, it's just a matter of how they want to approach it.
We'll work with Grant to get the exact language needed.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
The next section is nonconformities. This is kind of a big one, and so I'm just going to kind of walk through kind of where we're at with this. Our current nonconformity section addresses lots, building, and uses. What we were proposing is to expand this to include categories of keeping the lots, building, and uses, but using signs and site standards. Signs because it's currently the nonconforming signs is addressed in the sign code, but now it's all one code, so it makes sense to put it in the section. And then site standards as well. And as we were going through this, I met with Grant. We had several concerns, but I think as far as working through it with our law director, taking our current language and keeping the exact same current language, but adding those two sections in to address nonconforming signs and nonconforming site standards, and kind of scrapping the section that you guys have is the preferred method to go through, just to keep consistency in what we have. So is that pretty sufficient?
Well, yeah, I mean, the reason I wanted the Plan Commission to review this is, under what American Structure Point put out there, they treated nonconformities much more strictly than what the city's current standards were. And, you know, I just knew that the development staff, we were going to be stepping on a lot of toes if what has been proposed is adopted, because for instance, like a lot of things, if you're, say for instance, you built a building and it was conforming when it was built, but it later became non-conforming because of a zoning change or something like that. Under this code, there were many sections where you couldn't get a permit to do almost anything with it, so there were some concerns of why are we changing the nonconformity so much, to the extent that, and I'm trying to think of some specific examples. For just one that comes to mind, it had.
Was one I think you. One of it I think we talked about was the BZA's authority to allow for a substitution. It currently allows that now. It would not allow that in the new code.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think one that we caught and corrected before it got to this level was going from 6 months grandfathering down to
90 days.
90
Yeah,
days. Yeah, 180 to 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
But it's back at 180 days.
That's correct, yep.
Right,
We
and
changed
so
it
when
from
you talk
183
about-
to 180. because
To be,
180
yeah,
To make more
consistent,
sense.
sure.
Oh, yeah.
And there was another section that said that if you have like a non-conforming sign, and say you were allowed to have more than one sign, you couldn't, get a permit for, another sign, so long as that nonconformity was there. So what, it came to mind for me was the Redmond sign, which is a non-conforming sign because it has neon, but their signs below on the storefronts, under that situation, they wouldn't have been allowed, if they have a new tenant in there, they wouldn't have been allowed to keep the Redmond sign and get a new sign for a new tenant. And we just thought that that was sort of an overreach, on some of some of these things, so, and then there were other sections in there that the nonconformities touched upon as well, that, it really limited.
Change of uses.
Yeah, change of uses, yeah.
Okay, but going back to the top bullet on the memo, Tim,
Mm-hmm.
the non-conforming signs and site standards, you said that we have those standards in place, they're just in the sign
Sign code, correct.
and the sign code, and they just didn't get picked up and moved into the UDC, because the sign code right now is outside of the zoning code. This brings it into the
Zoning code.
UDC,
Yep,
which
correct.
includes the zoning code.
Mhm.
So that's the correction that we need to make sure that we're
I would-
doing what we're doing now.
Yeah, I would include that in there with the current language, yes.
When you say site standards, are you talking about things like setbacks and?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which we have-
Parking, lighting,
Which we have the
landscaping.
standards in place, and the non-conforming, we're just gonna clarify that.
Correct, yep. The last three items to address, most of them are just terminology questions. One is on page 280, to our section that discusses, basically it's adding additional terminology to the fourth degree misdemeanor classification. We just want to write the words, to include the words after proper notice, just to clarify that. So it's a pretty minor change there. To the definition on page 316, it was the site plan development. We renamed that subdivision development plan, so it just needs to be relocated in the code to make sure it falls within the alphabetical order. And then the definition of subdivision, which is on 319, we just want to update that to match what the ORC, how they define it. We just want to be consistent with them, so we want to copy that language and put it in our definitions. What was it?
The last bullet point that we wanted to chat about as well is, Mr. Emmerich had mentioned data centers and looking at additional, use standards for that. We haven't accomplished that yet, but we are working with our consultant team to evaluate the use standards.
Those are pretty much the updates and highlights we want to do. Again, our goal is to take the information from today and last week and give you guys a red line version to showcase those changes, and then we will be hopefully at a point, or if you are comfortable that we're close enough, that maybe we set a public meeting, or have that scheduled now, or schedule that now so we can move forward with the code and keep it moving in the right direction.
Okay, so now these changes you've made are already on the,
We will be, no, we will be making these changes, then we will be giving them to you, and then at the same time we give them to you, we'll put them on the website.
okay, so they're not there yet?
Correct. Nope, we wanted to make sure we had this discussion before we did anything.
And what are our options on you call it a public meeting? I know there's an official public hearing that we could call, which would it require the 30 days if it's an official public hearing?
I believe it's the 30-day
Okay.
notice.
As opposed to, not having one at all, but some kind of a public meeting other than a public hearing where we just provide a time and a date and the advertisement to invite public comment?
You could certainly do that as
Is that a
well.
distinction that, is that an option, Grant?
Well,
So that
it-
we're at least providing for some public input without having, to do
Yeah, I don't believe
formal
there's a
thing?
requirement that we have to have a public hearing on it. An official public hearing with that's what triggers the 30-day notice.
But that is a third option.
Yeah, obviously, the body's gonna decide if they wanna have public comments at their meetings.
Okay, now, I've got some other comments in here. How would you rather have those, right? Clean my scribbling up and send it to you and you guys take a look at it first and then,
If you have them written up, we can, if you want to give them to Austin, we can certainly look at those and incorporate those changes into a red line version before we give it out. And the same goes for anybody else in the planning commission. If there's other items that you have seen or wish to address, we can address those now. If you catch them later and you want us to make that part of the red line changes, just let us know.
well, my notes are usually, I'm making them as I'm going through. They're not even legible to me after a week, so
How good is your handwriting? That is the question.
I can interpret it. That's why I'll clean these up and then get them to you. I don't think there's anything that really stuck out that's, there's, a few that are probably just typo type things, but, and more
We
just-
will be having, Structure Point do a final, format too. There's a couple things with, graphs and charts that are on 2 pages, stuff like that. That'll all be cleaned up, so if you wanna save your time on the format, we are aware of it and are working on it.
So next step, you'll upload the red line, you'll provide us a copy, upload it to the, I don't know if we put it on the agenda meetings or just on the planning commission website.
We have it on the website, yep.
So we'll have another meeting, probably our normally scheduled planning commission meeting where we can review that, go over any final things, and then set up this public, whatever, how we want to phrase that. That's kind of the
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, looking at, I kind of agree with what you said, Jordan, on that. The next meeting would be July 8th.
Mhm.
How about what would our attendance be? I'm not gonna be here the 8th and 15th.
Maybe.
Or the 8th, so it'd be the 8th, I'll be back on the 22nd.
July 8th, yeah. We wouldn't meet till the 22nd, our regular scheduled meeting anyway.
I'm available.
Okay.
I don't know.
I should be here.
So on the 8th, then you can present, I'll get you my information, and then.
Okay.
On the 8th, and Larry, would you be here on the 8th?
I should be.
Okay. So I mean, continue then on so the 22nd, then we can set the date, or would you want to set that on the next meeting?
Well, if it's the 22nd, Sue, that would provide the 30 days.
Not actually, not because of
29.
how the newspaper's
Yeah,
published at this
right.
point. It could not be in the paper until, next, Wednesday.
So we'd be better off to shoot like August 12th at the.
Well,
Well,
then we could.
You could do the public meeting.
If we go to the 12th, we're just dragging this out.
Yeah.
Longer, because it's still got a whole council process. What I was gonna suggest is, we are still giving, notice. We can do the social media, we can do a newspaper, we can set the meeting for the 22nd. Wouldn't be an official public hearing requiring the 30-day, stuff, because we
Be a public
do have to
input
definitely
session.
do that at the council level.
Yeah, we
But
would.
we're still given 30 days notice.
Right, and
Okay.
public input,
Yeah, on the
Yeah.
22nd.
yeah.
If that's what the commission wishes.
I should be good the 22nd, Larry.
I believe so.
I think so.
That looks like it'd work for you.
It'll be called a public input session. That work? Okay,
Yes.
The law director can help us craft the.
yes,
Yes.
thank you. Okay. All right.
Okay. Does anybody else on commission have anything, questions or comments they want to bring up to staff at this point?
No, when do you think we can expect the updated red line? 'Cause I know we talked about that last time. So I
We'll
assume
try to
you're-
get it to you a week in advance, so by next Wednesday. It'll
Okay.
give us a couple days to finalize with Structure Point. We'll spend tomorrow and Monday, Tuesday finalizing, and then we'll get it to you Wednesday. And Grant. Yep.
And then between now and then, we're just emailing you our thoughts and comments.
Yeah.
Cool?
Take it with you.
No, you had mentioned on the, there was work being done by the consultant on the, like a data centers and maybe some other items.
Mm-hmm.
How soon would that, are they targeted to get that?
Well, we're hoping to get that and put that in the red line draft for you on Wednesday.
Oh, okay, so you'll have it sooner, okay. That might be a hot topic. Okay. Hearing no other questions or comments from the commission, we entertain any comments from the public. Again, we're not going to be able to give you definitive answers till we actually develop some of those answers, but please leave your comments, 2-3 minutes, and we'll try to stay on general topic.
Absolutely. Madison Hickman, I'm 3rd Ward City Council. I had a ward meeting yesterday, and the 2 hot topics were being as strict as possible to essentially ban, as best as we can, data centers, and then allowing tattoo parlors to be anywhere in town. So I will leave that here with you, but those were the hot topics that they thought were important.
So allowing tattoo, just so allowing tattoo parlors
Yeah,
in
like if
every-
they want to be downtown, if they want to be in
You mean
any
like limited
zoning
to like the
district.
commercial districts, not like
Yeah.
residential and?
Yes, sorry, thank you.
Okay.
Yes, to allow them to have a storefront downtown, to allow them to be in any of the commercial spaces. Yes.
Thank you.
My name is Bradley Beringer. I reside at 105 Crestwood Drive, and I would like to add a little bit to what Madison just said. I am a strong proponent of banning data centers anywhere within the city of Troy. We need to look no further than Piqua, Ohio to understand why. They snuck in, they signed NDAs, nobody knew what was going in or who was putting it in. And if you don't think they're going to try to come into Troy by annexing land into the city of Troy, you're sadly mistaken, because that's how they got into Piqua. Now let's look at the environmental aspect of things. They're big water users. We're on a buried aquifer in this community, and a lot of us inside and outside of the community have wells. There's a chance that those wells could be drawn dry if one data center locates within the city of Troy. And a lot of the comments I'm hearing are, well, we don't have enough land for it, and that may be so. We may not have enough land readily available within the city. But that doesn't mean they won't try to annex. And with the way our annexation laws are right now, it cannot be denied. So I'm asking, let's get out ahead of this and just make it a total prohibited use. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Behringer.
Yes, sir.
If I can ask
sir.
you a question. Where do you get the information that they signed non-disclosure agreements? Because
That is a known fact, Patrick. If you look at what happened in the city of Piqua, they signed a non-disclosure agreement. Nobody knew, they came in under shell companies, and we only just recently made the connection that it was Meta behind the shell companies.
Okay, but, I don't want to get too argumentative, but there's a difference between signing an NDA and them coming through an LLC, a shell company, whatever you want to call it. Those are two entirely different things.
That's one of the ways they operate, Patrick.
No.
And you just might as well, admit it, that that's how they operate, sir.
No, I'm not going to question the developer side. That's the market that's doing that. I don't know how they do it, why they would do it that way. I'm focused on the NDA that you're claiming that Piqua officials, governmental officials,
There's no claim. You look at it, Patrick. You'll go look at the documents, and you'll find that there was an NDA that was signed. Do a records request.
Okay, well, that's what I'm asking you. I have not seen
Simple as
that.
Then you do a records request, Patrick. It's as simple as that.
That
And you
was-
will see it.
That was my
That's all,
initial...
that's on, that,
All right, I got
think we
another-
just better let this matter lie, because,
Brad,
yeah, I'm...
I asked you for clarification. That
And
was
I'm
my
tell-
initial thing. I said, what do you have? I'm not being accusatory. I have
Well,
not
it sounds like
seen
you
that.
are to me, sir.
Because,
It sounds like you
well,
are to me.
that's-
You're accusing me of providing false information.
No, I'm
All you have to
asking
do is
where
get
you're
your
getting that
records
information. You told me that it's there, I will look for it.
It is
The
there.
water, on the water use,
We're on a
what-
better, and I'm not saying, I don't know, it depends on what comes in
Mr.
here.
Carrington speak, please.
hold on a second, Brad. You're-
Well, let's not spread the falsehood,
Just take,
Mr. Chairman.
I haven't even, that's a great comment, because you're characterizing their water use as being excessive.
It is very excessive on a system in the city of Piqua that puts out 2 to 3 million gallons of water a day, which has been documented in their water plant. And I have seen the presentation on that.
Right?
2 to 3 million gallons of water a day, and now we're asking for a data center, 700-acre data center, that's going to go 2 million gallons above that.
And I had not heard and seen those kind of numbers. The numbers that I saw were their daily usage is anywhere from 1.5 to 2 million, and their overall capacity of the plant is 6 to 7 million.
But they're only putting out 2 to 3.
Right, well, and
Okay,
they have
most
an
of that is
80
going to go to a data center.
All right,
So you're going to tell
and
me,
so-
you're going to tell me that I'm wrong? I'm sorry. We
No.
disagree.
I'm going to tell you that when you use words like excessive, I'd like to know what you think is excessive compared to
Well, when
something
it draws
else.
when it draws down our aquifer, Mr. Titterington, that to me is excessive. And when it makes my well go dry,
And have
which
you
it very well could, that to me is excessive. Excessive may be a
All right.
subjective word.
And have you seen any kind of water master plan modeling that shows a drain on the, and here's the thing, I'm not defending Piqua
Well, it
or
sounds to me
any
you
other
are.
data
It sounds
center.
to me you are.
I am,
Mr. Tyrone.
No, I'm going to combat the falsehoods, Mr. McGarry.
well, let
because
me
he's trying to
finish
say,
first.
Please,
Let me finish first.
Restrain yourself.
Okay, because I
trying.
think there's a lot of misinformation out there about data centers related to their utility usage as far as water goes. The technology is a lot different than I think has been put out there on social media and in other avenues. I'll give you an example, because you're talking about excessive water use by data centers. If they use an average of 300,000 gallons a day, first of all, that's a third of what Panasonic was using in their heyday here in Troy. Second of all, a typical golf course uses more water than a data center does. I'm just trying to put it in perspective, not to argue with you, but you're talking about an entire ban on data centers.
yes,
There's
I
a lot
am.
of flaws.
Yes, I am.
There's
But
a lot-
what flaws are there, Patrick? Tell me what flaws on there and say,
Let
we don't
Mr.
want that.
Titterington speak.
No, because he's going to try to tell me a lie, sir,
I
a lie.
have to cut you off.
And fine, cut me off, because it's apparently where he stands is he's for them. He's for them, and that's fine.
No, I didn't hear.
I am for regulating them. I am not for completely and totally banning them.
Okay.
That is,
So why are you for regulating them? Tell me that.
why am I what?
Why are you for regulating them and not outright banning them? They have no place in our community. The people don't want them. You should see the uproar that's going on in Piqua right now. There's talk of a $300,000 lawsuit against the city for what they did to get theirs in.
Okay.
And I think
I have to close the discussion. I mean, we're not on the point of any of our reviews. Thank you, sir.
Well, that's great. You can quote me on that, Brad, but, you know.
Well, hello.
I'm Dan Swank, 702 Old Newton Pike in beautiful Troy, Ohio. I appreciate you holding this meeting and allowing us to speak. I've got, let's see if we'll try to keep things a little bit more calm, Mr. McGarry. I've always said sunshine is the best disinfectant for anything to do with politics, and I think I stole that outright. But anyway, my one question that I have, and it may go to Mr. Kerber, is have non-disclosure agreements been used in Troy previously?
I'm not aware of.
I've never signed
Patrick?
one.
Okay, so can it be put in the UDC that non-disclosure agreements will never be used?
Dan, that goes to my question. I don't believe that it's legal for us to do that under the Sunshine Law unless it is part of confidential conversations between our legal representatives. That's where I'm getting at. That's where I'm not getting any of the information that Mr. Behringer apparently has that says, yeah, that city officials signed an NDA.
Mhm.
I'm not aware of any exclusion from the public records law that would allow something like that.
No, I mean, there was and that was cleaned up. We had a meeting about a change in the law that the state legislature expanded and made confidential certain information that's submitted with like an application for a grant or a loan.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been some movement on that where they made more things confidential than what they were previously. But then I think the legislature didn't realize the impact that it was having, so they went and changed it again. So that's not to say there might not be some changes in the future, because there's some jockeying around with different interests on that. But I'll just repeat, I'm not aware of any sort of NDA, and I'm not sure under what authority that they could claim to do that, especially given unless they used some third party or something. I just don't. I don't have enough information to speculate.
Let's put it this way. I don't think anybody knows everything that's going on behind closed doors or in council meetings or wherever. So I would just like to bring it up that it would be good to do something, that things are out in the open and transparent in everything that's done. I think it's healthier for everybody, including the citizens and you good folks yourself. Are you aware, who are the people that are directly working for the UDC? You're setting it up. Is it just 2 or 3 of you guys that are working on it, or everybody?
Yeah, well, it's our development department staff, working with American Structure Point, our law director.
Are you familiar with the Cuyahoga, in Cuyahoga County, there's a study and recommendation on data centers that they did? If you want, I can send it to you, but you can also look it up. And I read it, and what I like about it is the fact is it has a lot of questions that you immediately answer anybody that wants to come in and do development. And the problem that they found is there were shell companies coming in that were just created, coming in under a shell company name. So there's, I don't know how many, 12 to 30 questions that they ask, but they also have a lot of implementation of things to do and not to do. These are all recommendations. They did a big deep dive.
Okay.
And I would strongly recommend you do that.
Thank you.
I think it would be helpful.
Cuyahoga County?
Cuyahoga, yeah, it says Cuyahoga. I have it here. If you want, Patrick, I could email it to you and you can disperse it if you wish. Would that be acceptable?
That'd be great.
Okay. And the other thing, there are standards that are not being used in a lot of data centers that are making them use water, excessive electricity, etc. And there are other ways of doing that. I'm not a professional on that. I was talking to someone else in Troy that knows more about that type of thing. And he says, yeah, you don't have to use the water, you don't have to use everything. So if that is the possibility, that certainly changes everything. And and I can't bring it back up, but I saw a podcast of a guy that says, I've done 24 data centers, I've never had to use water, but he said it's more expensive. They're trying to come in on the cheap and do it on the cheap. So if you put it in that and do some, that anything coming up that they, limit how they're doing it, it's about building data centers very cheaply, on the cheap. And so that would be good to look for and evaluate. Let's see what else I have. Okay, I unfortunately will not be here when you're having the official meeting for questions and answers and everything.
At the planning commission. At the planning commission, you mean?
Yeah,
the
yeah,
22nd?
yeah. So,
Okay,
yeah,
just keep in mind.
That's gonna be the 22nd.
That'll be the 22nd, but
Of
keep
July.
in mind that by state law, we are required, the council is required to also have a public hearing, so there'll be at least that opportunity as well, but that's not scheduled until
August,
after
September.
we're done with the planning commission process.
Okay, okay. 'Cause
By
I'm-
all means, submit any information.
And you can email that to me or Sue, and
Okay.
we can get that out, yeah.
All right. Yes, Jim, Mr. Gary. Sorry, Mr. McGarry. So anyway, I thank you very much for the attention to that.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Hey, my name's Katie Kaler Wagner, and I live here in Troy, and I'm also running for Ohio House Rep in District 80. I'm here to ask that the section 1103-03M of the draft development code be amended so that data centers are not approved by admin approval only. As currently written, the data center that meets the requirement of the code could be approved without a public hearing, planning commission review, or city council vote. For a project with potentially significant impact on land use, infrastructure, water usage, and power consumption, I believe residents deserve an opportunity to hear about the proposal and provide input without a decision is made. My request is simple: require data centers to be approved as a conditional use rather than through admin review. This code is still a draft, and now is the time to ensure that the public has a voice in decisions that could affect our community for decades to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
So just a question, I mean, Katie, it's not directly for you, but really more for Grant, but you're welcome to stay up there. We don't have conditional uses in the code or the proposed UDC, but the PD process would serve the same purpose.
Yeah, I mean, if it was only acceptable as a PD, that would have the same purpose.
Okay. That is our process there that we do now, and that's what also is proposed in the UDC, the draft UDC.
That's correct, a PD, yep.
The PD process, we didn't create another conditional use, but data centers or any other use that we wanted to put in there could be designated as PD only if that were the direction that the council ultimately wanted to go. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean,
It's
that's
possible.
something that's possible, that, you know, for certain developments, we'd have to set some standards for that. I don't know if we could just limit it to data centers, or it might be, you know, it might be a per acre thing. Anything over, you know, 400 acres is required to go through the PD process or something like that.
It's just food for thought for us, I guess.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments from the audience or from the public? Any more from staff?
Nothing, thank you.
Anything from the commission?
Yes, sir.
Entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned.